Welcome back to Buckeye Talk. Steven means Andrew Gillis, and it's Tuesday, which means we'll be talking with Ryan Day in preparation for Youngstown State. But on the pod, it means it's time to talk recruiting. Nothing happened in the recruiting world for Ohio State. Still 22 commits, still the number 2 class in the country. But Andrew, you did get an opportunity to see your first commit live and in person and get your own, thoughts and have your own conversations with this person. Ian Moore, number 128 player, the number 7 interior offensive lineman, plays tackle for New Palestine High School in Indiana, which is where you were on Friday night ahead of Ohio State's season opener. Just let's start with what he said after the game. What was the conversation like with him after the game?
Yeah, so we watched him play. New Palestine played Yorktown, 2 schools in Indiana. It was a really fun game, actually. Went right down to the wire, so it was entertaining from that perspective. Obviously, I had my eyes on one guy. There were a couple interesting things that I thought he said. So first off, if anybody was curious, New Palestine or Palestine, I think was how they pronounced it. It is just east of Indianapolis. So it's only like an hour plus away from Bloomington. It's not very far. Ian was not at the game on Saturday. He was going to try and make it. He thought that was going to be in his plans, but there was just some paperwork that he would have had to fill out. It would have just kind of been a mess. But he said he was, very invested in watching it. And he said he was really excited to get to see it. So that was just kind of the first thing that we talked about. The on-field play was a little interesting for me because I sent this out to our text subscribers, which a reminder to get all the texts because I'm going to be at a lot of high school football games on Fridays and Saturdays and whenever they play this year. So if you want updates from that, go do that. But one of the things that I texted out to our subscribers was he looked like a guard to me. And the reason I think he looked like a guard to me was because he did not play super well in the beginning part of that game. And he admitted this. This isn't me ragging on the kid. This isn't me doing anything nefarious like that. He admitted, he said, look, I did not play very well. And his coach said he struggled a little bit early because what Yorktown did was their starting running back. And I wish I had the roster in front of me right now. I don't. But he was like 5'11", 5'10", 195, something like that. So about high school running back size. And he played defensive end for Yorktown. And they did a lot of stunting and they did a lot of movements on their defensive line. And Ian Moore struggled with that. The speed rush was not what he was expecting. New Palestine's coach, when I was talking to him after, he was like, look, it doesn't make sense for anybody in this league to try and bull rush him. Why would you do that? He's listed on the program as 6'6" and 311 pounds. There's just no point for a high school kid to do that. So, Ian talked about kind of improving in the speed rush department, kind of getting better. And that is one of the areas that he's been working on. But when I watched him play, he was a physically dominant, as you might expect for somebody who's committed to Ohio State. He's a physically dominant run blocker, and he really moves down the line well. I thought that was really impressive. The speed rush is going to be something that, when he gets to Ohio State, he's going to have to work on, and he'll be the first one to admit that. He was a really humble kid. He was a really nice kid. But Ian's a really good football player, I thought. He just struggled with the speed rush, and that was what we talked about, and that was kind of, what he said he needed to work on. So from my personal perspective, I saw someone who could be a really, really high-end guard. I know there are some people who want him at tackle. I know Ohio State might view him as a tackle. I know there are a couple other people who were saying for weeks and months now that he should be a tackle. But it was a really interesting conversation with Ian. I liked it. It was it was nice to get out and to see him kind of put on the pads for once.
So I don't know what the conversation was because I wasn't out there, but did he talk about any level of growth, maybe where he's maybe improved the most over the past year? Because he's been committed since last fall. He camped a couple of times this summer, and we'll get into some of that later in this podcast. But where did he say maybe he's grown the most over the past year?
Well, I think one of the things that, I don't remember specifically, what he said in terms of, kind of growth. I know, bigger, faster, stronger. I remember that kind of being part of it, but that's pretty basic. That's everybody. The speed rush, frankly, was what we talked about a little bit. And he said that that's kind of been, where he's growing. And the thing that I think he has really done this year, and I know this sounds corny, but, his coach was really talking about this as, him kind of being this guy that people respect on the team. He's really level-headed. He's not one of these kids who, needs all this attention or wants all this attention. And that was something that his coach really talked about, and that he kind of mentioned too, was that, he wants to be a leader. He wants to be that guy that people can rely on. He mentioned the relationship that he has with Justin Fry, Ohio State's offensive line coach, and just kind of how he talks with him all the time. He mentioned that that's a really good relationship, and he even kind of joked. He was like, "I understand how this works. They're really nice to you during recruiting, and then they get on you when you show up to practice. I understand that." But he mentioned that, and I think just kind of growing into this role as a player that people look up to was something that he was really focused on. And then I mean, you're talking about a kid who is a couple of months away from being enrolled at Ohio State. I mean, this is going to be a big jump for him. Physically, he can do it. I think that there are some things that he obviously wants to get better at in terms of how he can kind of evolve in the college game. But it seems like a good kid, and I did enjoy talking to him.
What's the most impressive thing he did on Friday night?
Oh, that's a good question. I think in terms of what I saw, the most impressive thing I saw was the footwork and how he got down the line. So I asked his coach about this after the game, actually, because Yorktown ran a really unique defense. Like if you've ever seen college teams or NFL teams do this, you'll know what I'm talking about. But there were times where they had a really, really big nose tackle. I think their nose tackle was 350 pounds. So they had him just kind of gap up the middle. And what they did was they had a bunch of, there's a bunch of different names for it. You can call it muddle, you can call it whatever. But they had a bunch of dudes standing up at the line. And I think that was kind of where some of the problems for him were at the beginning of the game, where, they were just stunting left and right and sideways in all kinds of different areas. And, their coach said, New Palestine's coach at the end of the game said, look, they kind of make you abandon your zone blocking principles when they do this because they don't play conventional defense. And I think that was kind of where Ian struggled a little bit. But when you saw him move down the line, that was really impressive. When you saw him get to the second level, he would find, because, he would downstep in, he was playing left tackle. So he would downstep to his right, get a really nice 45-degree step, go down the line, go straight to a linebacker. And, oh, man, there was this one poor linebacker who took like 3 just big shots from this kid. He didn't see him coming, and Ian just blasted him. And, one of the things that was impressive about that was that, yes, the physicality, I mean, that's a given. I don't even want to say that's the answer, because when you're 6'6" and 311 pounds, or at least that's what you're listed at in the program, you should be able to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you should be able to go dominate a high school game like that. That should be kind of the baseline. And he did that, and that's his job. So he did his job successfully. I was more impressed at how he got down there, if that makes sense. Like how he got to that second level, kind of washing down to the second level. That was impressive to me in terms of him getting there and him using that strength, because you could be the strongest kid in the world, but if you can't get to the second level, if you can't work your way up to a linebacker, it does you no good. Especially when a team is doing this, kind of unique strategy where they're putting a running back on you basically, and they're just kind of having him, try to run around you like Rocky and the Chicken, basically. That's what they were trying to do with this kid. And look, Yorktown, I was really impressed with Yorktown's coach because he knew what he was doing. You're not going to bull rush Ian Moore. So, I think that was probably it, just how he was able to get downhill, get to a linebacker, and really just kind of physically dominate them when he got there.
You're coming from the NFL, so you watch some NFL football. Allegedly,
That I have.
you've watched some of it.
Alleged, yeah.
Any
Some
player
would
can
say,
play.
some would say no.
Yeah, some would say no. Any player that maybe he compares to that you've seen.
Oh wow. Okay, so this is going to be a stretch because I'm not going to give a college player. I'm going to give a pro player.
That's fine.
I know you said I know you said that, but if there are any Cincinnati Bengals fans listening to this, Cordell Volson is their starting left guard, and Cordell Volson, and the reason that I sent out to our tech subscribers, amongst a few other thoughts, the reason that I sent out that I thought he looked like a guard was not that I don't think he can play tackle. I know he mentioned he struggled against the speed rush. He's a senior in high school. He can figure this out. Like, this isn't like, oh no, it's ruined. He'll figure it out. But the thing that I saw, I mentioned the downhill blocking. That looked like a really elite level guard at a college level. And I know one of our responses that I got on the tech service was, "Hey, well, he's 6'6" and he still might be growing. Now, if he grows to like 6'8", maybe a little taller even, that you're not playing guard. That's just the way that that's going to work." But the Bengals have a guard, Cordell Volson, who's 6'7", and he's about 315 pounds. And he played at North Dakota State, and he played everything at North Dakota State. He played left tackle, he played right tackle, he played left guard, he played right guard, he played everything. And that was kind of what I saw from Ian, because bigger guards are not exactly a bug, right? Like, bigger guards are kind of a feature of an offense, and it doesn't mean just because you're bigger that you're better. I know, I know I'm not breaking any news when I say that, but I just looked at him. He's got long arms. He can really move well down the field. And yes, the pass protection, I mean, there was one kid who tried to bull rush him, and the kid might as well have just tried to run into a brick wall. But that's gonna get better. That, him handling the speed rush, he mentioned that too. But just the physical ability that he had in terms of kind of running the ball or running down the line and moving the pile, I think that was really impressive. So I would say Cordell, and I know that's biased because I saw him play all year and I talked to him play, but I mean, now when I thought of a bigger guard, the Bengals have two big guards. Alex Kappa is their right guard. I think he's 6'5", and Cordell Volson is 6'6" or 6'7", excuse me. There are big guards in the NFL, and I think that Ian would make a really, really unique guard at the college level. I think they'll try him at both, obviously. I mean, you're going to play a kid wherever he fits best, and Ohio State's going to do their job in trying to figure out where he can best impact the Buckeyes. But yeah, I think that was probably the number one thing that I saw, just because the reach that he would be able to have on the interior would be really something special.
So we're going to take a quick break after that. That's Andrew's quick synopsis of a Friday night in New Palestine watching Ian Moore. And when we come back, I'm going to react to some of the things he said, because I heard some good things, but I also heard some things that are a little bit alarming. So we'll get into that when we come back here on Buckeye Talk.